It was about this time, too, that I began to wonder and worry somewhat about the fact that whatever we ate, whatever we needed, must always be stolen. Rats had always lived this way, and yet, why? I talked to some of the others about this, and it was the beginning of a discontent and an idea that kept growing. Although slowly, the season was autumn. We were walking one evening down a winding country road. We never walked really on the road, but along the edge, so that we could vanish into the bushes or a ditch if anyone came along. You can imagine that 20 rats and 2 mice traveling in procession would cause some comment, and we did not want that. So how many rats was it? 20 rats and 2 mice. As we walked, we reached a very high fence of wrought iron, and the kind that looked like a row of black iron spears fastened together with pointed tops. An expensive fence surrounding a large estate with a big, expensive-looking house in the middle, and well-kept grounds and gardens. We walked along past this fence until we reached a gate. "There's nobody living in there," said Justin. "How do you know?" "The gate is padlocked. And look, dead weeds standing outside of it, not even bent. Nobody has driven in here for quite a while." The house had a quiet, deserted look. There was a mailbox in front, hanging open, empty. "I wonder if we could get in," Jenner said. "Why should we?" "Well, it's a big place. It would have a big pantry, big cupboards, big freezer, and if it's as empty as it looks." We turned into the grounds, moving cautiously, and from beneath some bushes we watched the windows. As dusk fell, lights came on in several of them, both upstairs and down. And Jenner said, "That's supposed to make us think that there's someone there." "Yes," said Justin, "but there isn't. I could see one of the lamps when it came on. There was nobody near it, and they all came on at the same time. Automatic switches to keep burglars away." "What do rats know about burglars?" "Well, they're not keeping me away," said Justin. He ran to the house. He climbed to one of the windowsills, and he looked in. He tried another one, and then he came back. "Nobody," he said. So we went in. We found a small window in the back with a cracked window pane. We knocked out one corner of the glass, and we climbed right through. At first, we planned just to look for food. We found it, too, enough to last us for a year or more. A whole emergency preparedness. As Jenner had predicted, there was a big freezer. It was well stocked. It had bread, meat, vegetables, and everything. And there was a whole room full of shelves covered with canned food. The cans baffled us at first, as they had in the grocery stores. We could read what was in them, but we couldn't get it out. And then Arthur found a machine on the kitchen counter. He read the instructions on the side of it. Slide can under cutter and press switch. We tried it. The can turned slowly around in the machine, and when we pulled it out, the top had been cut free. I'll always remember what was in that first can. Clam chowder. Delicious. After we had eaten, we wandered around the house, and it was a rich man's mansion with beautiful furniture, fine rugs, and carpeting on the floor. There was a crystal chandelier in the dining room and some big fireplace in the living room. But the greatest treasure of all for us was in the study. This was a large rectangular room with a walnut paneling, a walnut desk, leather chairs, and walls lined to the ceiling with books. Thousands of books about every subject you could think of. There were shelves of paperbacks. There were encyclopedias, histories, novels, philosophies, and textbooks of physics, chemistry, electrical engineering, and others. More than I can name. Luckily, there was even one of those small ladders on wheels that they use in some libraries to get to the very top shelves. Well, we fell on those books with even more appetite than the food, and in the end, we moved into the house, and we ended up staying all winter. we could do that in turn. It turned out without much fear of discovery because we learned that from some newspaper cuttings I found on the desk in the study. They were about a wedding, and most of them showed pictures of a newly married couple leaving a house to begin their honeymoon. The groom was a Mr. Gordon Boniface. Here in the gold Stetson fortune, the groom, the man that was getting married, was a Mr. Gordon Boniface, heir to the gold Stetson future. Gold Stetson. An heir is somebody who inherits the money after people die, or the property. And the house that they were leaving was the house we were in. According to the clippings in the newspaper, they were going on a trip all around the world. They were coming back to the Boniface Estate in May, so until then, it was our estate. Oh, there was a caretaker, a gardener, who came about 3 times a week, and once in a while he would check the house in a cursory sort of way. That is, he would unlock the front door. He would glance around to see that everything looked all right, and then lock it and leave. But he really didn't live there. He lived in a small house down the road, and we were expecting him when we came. When he came, we had figured out from the way the place was kept, that the lawns mowed and the leaves raked and the gardens weeded and watered, that there really had to be somebody working on it. And so we posted a watch, and we saw him coming, and then we kept watching all the time that he was there. We made sure that when he looked into the house that everything did look all right. This involved a certain amount of work. We had to haul all of our empty tin cans and other trash at night out into a hidden place in the woods, quite far from the house. We cleaned up after ourselves carefully, and we learned to use the water traps and the dusting cloths that we found in the kitchen. If the caretaker had looked more closely, in fact, he would have seen that the kitchen counters were somewhat shinier than they had been than they should have been for an empty house off. But he did not notice, and he never even noticed the small corner of glass missing from the back window. All winter, far into the night, we read books, and we practiced writing.